Today, our topic is talking about imagination. And imagination is my favorite topic because for me, imagination, the things that we're thinking about, is the most important thing in our world, because everything, just as our keeper Truland told us a minute ago, everything begins in our mind. Everything begins in our consciousness. Everything begins as far as what we believe our self to be and our future to be in this world. So I'm just so excited that the Keeper True Lent is going through the 12 faculties of the mind, 12 faculties that we use throughout the month for these 12 days. And imagination lands on the second Sunday in Lent. So I get to talk about my favorite topic of imagination, because we have to remember that imagination is multidimensional. Within our imagination, within our thinking, it holds our past, our present, and our future. And not only does it hold the experiences of our past, present, and future, but it also holds the feelings and the emotions that we picked up from the things in our past, which is going to dictate the future that we're going to have. Every time I talk about imagination, I remember Proverbs chapter 23, which reminds us that as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And I like to take gender out of it because this is for everyone. It's not just man that works with his imagination and women don't. No, everybody, man, woman, and child, uses their imagination to shape their lives. So friends, we must know today that our joy, our fulfillment begins and ends in our thought process. Our joy, our fulfillment begins and ends regarding what we think about our future, what we think about our joy, what we think about our fulfillment in this world. And so that is why we have to get our imagination excited for our strength. There is so much going on in this world. We could talk about what's going on now with a new administration or whatever is going on. But even without a new administration that's having craziness, there will always be something crazy going on in this world. There will always be things, whether globally or even personally in our world, that will affect our soul, that will affect our spirit, that will affect the things that we do for our lives. So we have to start by getting our thinking, by getting our imagination excited for the strength that we are going to pull out to get ourselves through the most difficult situations. We have to get our mind, our imagination thinking and having more faith in our ability. We have to get excited about having more faith in our accomplishments, having more faith in our decision making, having more faith in our capacity to learn. People think that once they graduate high school or graduate college, that there is no more to learn, no more to gain, but we are learning every day of our lives. If we can get excited about our capacity to learn and grow in this world. Friends, today, get excited thinking about your ability to be the superhero of your own life. You are the only one that can save you. You are the only one that can save your soul. You are the only one that can save your life, and that is going to start in your imagination. Know that this mighty strength, you can pull it out from your very soul. This mighty strength of the universe lives and resides in the very depths of your soul. This invisible, mighty strength that pushed up the mountains so many thousands of years ago. This same invisible, mighty strength that carves out the rivers that we enjoy today, that spills into the oceans. That same invisible, mighty spirit lives within your very soul. Now it's time for you to get excited for the strength that you are going to pull out of that place, the strength that you are going to pull out of your soul to get through your life. So would you affirm with me, my imagination is excited for my strength.
My imagination is excited for my strength.
One more time, my imagination is excited for my strength. So get your thinking excited, because it's easy for us to fall into negation and what we can't do and what we can't accomplish and what we don't have the ability to do. But if we can get excited to know that the things that we once thought that we were unable to do, that suddenly there is absolute ability, what a wonderful world we can build. Friends, today I want you to remember to command a thought process of success. Command a thought process of joy and fulfillment of love for yourself. This is your life. It's not a dress rehearsal, so you got to get your thinking straight right here and right now so that it can project into wonderful things for the rest of your life. Our Keeper True Lent reminds us that imagination images and forms. People only think of the first part of the imagination, where it's just imaging the life that we want, the dreams that we want to unfold, not realizing that it's also forming these ideas that we're pushing into the universe. The Keeper True Lent goes on to remind us that everything manifest was first a mental picture. And we accumulate a mass of ideas about substance and about life, and imagination molds them into shape. I think every time I go over a bridge or through a tunnel, I think that someone had the idea, first of all, to make the car that I'm driving, but to also construct these bridges that we're going over, these tunnels that we're going over, that we're going under. It all started with a mental picture. It all started with someone having the bright idea that we need to get through this. There is something else that we need to do, and we can enjoy that perpetuation of those small ideas. But also, we must also remember that we personally, we are accumulating a mass of ideas. We're accumulating the things from our past, our present, our relationships, whether they went well or whether they didn't go well, the things that we learned in school. I always remember my mother was very adamant about meeting my teachers when we, at the first of the year. Because when we think back, we can always think of, oh, my first grade teacher was this, my third grade teacher was that, right? Even though you spent a year with them, they are still a part of your life. They are still a part of your memory. We have to realize that every experience that we've had, it's accumulating in our mind. It has become a part of who we are, and it's affecting our imagination. It's affecting the way we think in our lives. So we are always actively commanding in our world. The question is, are we consciously commanding in our world? Are we really taking time to stop and say, you know, the words that I'm speaking, the things that I'm expressing in my life, the thoughts that I'm thinking, the imagination that I'm letting run wild in my consciousness is constantly forming and shaping my world? Earlier this week in the Keeper True Lent, as it starts talking about the 12 faculties, Monday's lesson was called the Garden of Eden, and it introduces the 12 faculties of mind. But in the lesson of the Garden of Eden, which was on Monday, it says that God's greatest gift to man is the power of his thought, through which he can incorporate the mind of God. So it begs the question now, what do you believe the mind of God to be? There are so many people that think that the mind of God is doubt and worry and fear and all this negation, but I want you to think of the mind of God, which I want to become your mind. It is a mind of success. It is a life of success, a mind and a life of fulfillment, a mind and a life of love, of kindness in your world. Once you start from that point, you can understand that everything else is just for your blessing. Everything else is just for your world. Today, you must remember that you live in the Garden of Eden. In other words, every thought and every word that you're sending out into the world is filling the energy of the world. We all live in a garden that is providing for us. Just as the original Garden of Eden was the place of paradise, see your world as a place of paradise. See your world as all being provided. There is nourishment. There is knowledge for you to have. And also, in this wonderful garden, in your thinking, you are initiating experiences that will impact your future. You must know that the soil is fertile. The energy of the world is fertile. What are you planting in the energy of your life? What are you planting for your life? As you go through grief, as you go through want, as you go through fear, as you go through all these negations in your life, what overcoming do you see in your mind for your future? Do you even see yourself overcoming grief and doubt and worry and fear and want, right? Do you see yourself succeeding and overcoming in your mind for your future? There's so many people that they're just bogged down by so much negation that they do not see that there is something great and wonderful ahead of them. It means then that we must change our thinking. Friends, I want you to remember that your success, your peace, your fulfillment in this world depends on how well you can accumulate all these ideas, all these messages, all these experiences in your world and turn them into a positive outcome. Turn them for your good. Turn them around so that you can see that there is something great for you to experience. So how do you imagine health after sickness? People get sick and think that that's where they're going to stay. No, you have to imagine health, even in sickness. How do you imagine love after heartbreak? How do you imagine joy after pain? Will you always feel that you will always be knocked down? You will always be sad. You will always be depressed because of what's going on in your world. No, you have to let your imagination get excited for the strength to find health after sickness, the strength that it'll take your soul to find love after heartbreak, the strength that it will take your soul to find joy after the pain that you have gone through in your world. Friends, let your thoughts get excited for this moment. Let your thoughts get excited for whatever this is for you, whatever this moment, this challenge is for you. Get excited for what it means for your future. Get excited for what it will add to your future. Get excited for what it will bring and add to your life. You got to get your mind excited for these great and wonderful things that are happening in your future, for these great and wonderful thoughts that you are thinking, for this great and wonderful people that you are bringing into your world. If you're on social media, hopefully you follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Black Diamond Worldwide Outreach. We post inspirational memes throughout the week to keep ourselves encouraged. But this is the month of March, so it's Women's History Month, so we're also posting every day about a woman that has shaped this world for the better. And one woman that we posted last week is Dr. Trisha Bailey. She is the richest Jamaican in the world. And she became a medical entrepreneur. She is also a coma survivor. How many people do you know went through a coma, right? But she is also an author, and she wrote her autobiography called Unbroken. And she recalls a story of this very abusive man that she was dating, and she had this experience while he was choking her, had his hands around her neck, and she said the guy had about 200 pounds on her, had his hands around her neck, ready to kill her. He was literally choking her. She writes, while he was choking me, she says, there was a sudden realization that I could die. The more I fought back, the more the thought became real. So much so that I almost took comfort in the idea of death. See where her imagination is going? The idea that she had in that moment. But she goes on to say, I couldn't take it anymore. Then I began to imagine, then her imagination went to something different. Then I began to imagine what the better version of myself would have wanted me to do. And so I fought, I fight. I do what needs to be done. You see how her imagination went from the thought of death, and in an instant when she remembered what her future self could be, the dreams that her future, and even after that experience, she then slipped into a coma, and then she then became the richest woman from Jamaica. She has, I think they say 46 pharmacies all over the country, right? And she made something of herself, but she had to change her thinking. She had to remember what I'm trying to say to you here this morning, that God needs you to stay strong. God needs you to stay powerful. God needs you to stay successful. God needs you to stay beautiful. Because sometimes when we have abusive people in our world, the first thing they do is go after our beauty, whether it's your face, whether it's your body, whether it's your personality, whether it's your action. But you have to know that God needs you just as you are. God needs you as you are, and whatever you are, whatever you believe yourself to be at this moment, know that it is beautiful. And in order to get to that point, you got to fight those imaginary stories that you tell yourself about your inadequacy. You have to fight those imaginary stories that you might tell yourself about your fears, about your doubt. You got to remember that you need all of your brain power, you need all of your thinking, all of your focus, all of your strength to go into this creativity of good, the creativity of yourself. So would you affirm with me, God needs me to stay strong.
God needs me to stay strong.
God needs me to stay powerful.
God needs me to stay powerful.
God needs me to stay successful.
God needs me to stay successful.
God needs me to stay beautiful.
God needs me to stay beautiful.
Let's do that last affirmation, touching your face and your body, any part that you think is ugly or too big or too small. No, God needs me to stay beautiful.
God needs me to stay beautiful.
Amen, amen, amen. So now, with your imagination, take hold of these ideas. Take hold of your strength. Take hold of your power. Take hold of your success. And most of all, take hold of your beauty. The Keeper True Lens suggests us to read Acts chapter 10 from verses 9 to 35. And in this story in Acts chapter 10, we read about Peter, who had these thoughts going on in his imagination, right? He was tempted in his thinking, in his imagination. And this reminds us, though, that we can sometimes give in to the pleasures of our imagination. I think that every addiction that people have to drugs, to alcohol, people love to go to Atlantic City, and it's not just gambling, because sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, you don't know what's going on, but it's the smells, it's the food, it's the people. I used to love going to Atlantic City. Like I said, I never gamble. I usually play like the penny slots, and that's all you're going to get from me. I work too hard for my money just to give it to a millionaire that owns a casino. But whatever you do, right? My favorite thing was watching the older people. I don't know if you could still smoke in the casinos in Atlantic City, but they used to have 5 machines. And I remember this one woman with a cigarette in her mouth, and she's pulling all 5 levers. She's putting the cash in. It's just excitement, right? So there's certain things that our imagination is fixated on. There's certain things that our imagination gets excited for, and those can slip into addictions. And for some people, it is easier to give in to their temptations. It is easier to give in to a lower self instead of climbing towards a higher self. I heard someone say that it is easier for people to ask for forgiveness rather than to ask for permission. Right? So there are all these things that we can give into our world. People are fasting during the Lenten season, and they're trying to hold on to the things that they're fasting from. Right? So there are all these temptations in our world. But today, can we do the work of healing for our lives? Can we do the work of resisting the things that will not bring us our greatest and highest good, and then from that point, move ahead to something great and wonderful in our world? It takes how we're using our imagination, how we're using the thoughts that we're thinking about for our world. The Bible lesson goes on to talk about Cornelius. Cornelius also had a vision, and that is how he was able to call for Peter. Now, this is the thing. Both men were transformed because they used their intuition. Even in the scripture, it talks about when Peter when he had his vision, he was pondering about what this vision could mean. What is actually going on here? How many times do we have situations in our life and we don't see, as they say, you don't see the forest for the trees. You don't see the future, so you're confused as to why this situation is going on. And then something happens, just like it happened here, where he went to Cornelius, and Cornelius had his vision, and it brought these 2 men together and transformed their lives for the better. It speaks to the interconnectedness of each and every one of us. It speaks to the power that as I follow my intuition for good, and you all follow your intuition for good, we meet somewhere in the middle to multiply good in this world. It means then that we have to set a standard for good in our world. We have to set a standard for health and sanity and joy in our life, in our world. Friends, you have to remember that you always create an energy of inspiration when you cannot give in to temptation, when you cannot give in to the lower self of negation, when you can accept good as the standard. When you do that, you inspire other people to do the same. And you might not even know it. They might not even tell you that you have inspired them. But as you live your good life, as you set a standard for good in your world, you inspire other people to do the same. So let's talk about the standard in our world. Would you affirm with me? Good is the standard of my life.
Good is the standard of my life.
Health is the standard of my life.
Health is the standard of my life.
And sometimes you might think that you're going insane. Let's claim that sanity is the standard of my life.
Sanity is the standard of my life.
Joy is the standard of my life.
Joy is the standard of my life.
All right, so now we've claimed it into our universe. We've claimed it into our world. So now that you have claimed a higher standard of existence, Your imagination can get excited for the strength that you are going to pull out of your soul to get through any situation in your life. Your imagination now is excited because it knows that the future holds you in greatness. That the future holds not only your mind and your thinking, but your body culture, the way your body moves, your blood pressure, your energy, your feet that has to move, your hands that have to touch and hold and pick up things. This body that has to carry you through, there is going to be a strength that is going to come from the very depths of your soul to motivate your body, to motivate your mind, to motivate your relationships in love. You know, the thought came to me the other day. Today is, I don't have the date there, but this is going to be 5 years since the COVID pandemic took over the entire world. And it was horrible. Millions of people have died. But what we can be grateful for, even if you're grieving someone that passed during COVID, what you can be grateful for is that millions of people died, but you did not. You are still here. That must mean that there is more for you to adapt. There is more for you to learn. There is more for you to be in this world, in this time. God spared your life. What are you going to do with it from this point forward? What is your more? What do you see happening in your life? Can you love more and protect your inner peace? Now, here's the thing. We can and should imagine good for the people in our world, right? We have these relationships that are so important to us. And we want to express good for our family, for our friends, for our loved ones, for these love connections that we're making, these relationships that we're having, especially when we're talking about these love relationships, right? And of course, it's always good to imagine good for the people in our world, but we must also deal with reality, right? We can, especially in relationships, we can have a relationship and we can say, oh, you know, I would love to marry this person because we have such a great relationship. But the reality is that the person may not want to get married. The person may not want what you want. So as you're thinking of your imagination of what could be, you still have to deal with the reality of what is. And that is where you take your imagination from. You have to deal with the truth of the moment in order to project your imagination dealing in that truth. I think about people that have to deal with addicts, people that are addicted to drugs and alcohol, right? And they have their interventions, they hold boundaries of the things that they want to do not want, but yet the person is so engulfed in this addiction that they cannot see their way through it. And then sometimes we have to allow those people to fail because that's the road that they need to go through. It can't affect your life negatively. Again, you can love, you can bless, you can imagine good for those people, but if you're not dealing with the reality that that person might be having a problem, it doesn't help you, it doesn't help them, it does not help your future. So we have to know that increasing good in our imagination cannot happen if what our mind is seeing now, if what is going on now in our world is a total and complete mess. Know that you have the power to fix that mess. You have the power to get over the lack that you see in your current situation. You have the power to get over the denial that you may be experiencing in any situation in your world. Friends, you have to remember that your imagination claims and sees your future, but what happens in between is where the actual work is done. From your imagination, what you see for your future, to the actual working into that future, that's where most of the work is done. That is where you do your best work. Our keeper Chuland reminds us that with my imagination, I lay hold of perfect ideas and clothe them with substance. Coming back to reminding ourselves that our imagination is not only imaging our future, but it's forming our future. So friends, what materials are you using to add substance to the future that you want to experience, right? Are you using love? Are you using peace? Are you using the strength, God's strength within you to project into your future, to know that you will be successful, to know that you will be blessed in every way, to shape your thoughts, to shape your feelings, to shape your actions? Are you realizing that you are ready to use God's strength? And again, it might be difficult to find that strength within you. It might be difficult to face a situation in your world. You might might not be emotionally ready to use the strength that is within you. But I want you to know that as you keep affirming that yes, I can be, at least can be, emotionally ready to face whatever is in front of me. I can be emotionally ready to use God's strength. That is when it blooms in your world. But also, again, you have to be honest about your emotional strength. You have to be honest and not force or kid yourself about your emotional readiness to tackle the things in your world. Friends, today, as you strive and affirm to build strength within you, you also have to give yourself time to allow your emotions to take place, to allow your emotions to bloom, to allow your emotional readiness, your emotional stability to take complete control in your world. And that might mean that you might have to be vulnerable in certain things. People don't like to be vulnerable. People don't like, when they have a situation, they don't want anyone to know. They try to hide it. They go in denial. And if someone finds out what's going on in their world, they get upset. Why are these people in my business? Why? Listen, if they come and ask you your business, just tell them it's none of their business. You are the one that has to work through this mess of your life. Because most people, when they come and ask you your business, they're not trying to help. They're just trying to get some things so they can call who and talk about your name. Right? So when I ask, because I'm a minister, I want to help, but not everybody's like that. Just tell them to mind their business. It's for your healing. It's for your restoration. It is for your life. And even though you are vulnerable, and even though vulnerability is good in your world, it's not for other people to manipulate that. It's not for other people to exploit that. It is for you to grab that in your mind, to grab that in your body, to grab that in your life and change your thinking. Allow your imagination to get excited for the strength that is going to come out of your soul from any vulnerable situation in your world, knowing that you are truly emotionally ready to use God's strength. Would you affirm this with me? I am emotionally ready to use God's strength. Let's hug ourselves and affirm that. I'm emotionally ready to use God's strength. All right. Now, Jesus, throughout the scripture, talked about a spirit culture, a mind culture, a body culture that we should all adapt. This is the culture of our life that keeps our imagination excited for strength. So it means now that we got to watch our vocabulary. We have to watch the vocabulary that our mind is thinking. We also have to watch the expectations that our mind is giving us for our world. So, it means then that no longer are you, like when you're facing a new relationship, facing a new friendship in your world, you're not saying, oh, I'm in this new relationship, I'm in this new friendship, but I'm waiting to be betrayed, right? I'm waiting to feel heartbroken. I'm waiting to get left by this person. No, we're turning it around and realizing that no, in this new relationship, in this new friendship, I get a new chance to love. I get a new chance to hug someone. I get a new chance to share and get close with someone in my relationships. When we're starting a learning period, because there's always things that we have to learn, right? If we're in a new job, a new position, whatever, we have to learn that new job. We have to learn that new position. Know that you are not learning or going through the learning period to fail, to prove that you don't have the brain power, to prove that you don't have the smarts. No, you are going through this time to acknowledge your faith, to acknowledge your self-reliance, to acknowledge that you have the power to have absolute knowledge within yourself. Friends, today, don't start something expecting to fail. Don't start something expecting not to be your best. Whatever is in your future, whatever you have to start, whatever you have to do in your world, start it. Begin it, move through it, knowing that you are God's winner. So therefore, this situation can only see you in a winning frame of mind. Friends, today remember that success is yours. So let your imagination get excited for success. Let your imagination get excited for the new thing that you are going to unfold. Let your imagination get excited for the growing that you have to do. Let your imagination get excited for the uncovering that you have to do in your world. And most of all, let your imagination get excited for the blessing of your world, for the healing that is taking place in your world. I think sometimes life is like a mail-in rebate, right? You ever go someplace and maybe you buy a TV or something expensive, right? And they give you a mail-in rebate. It's a lot of money, but you have to remember to go home, log on to their website, and redeem this rebate, right? And then you can't do it now. You gotta wait a month because they're hoping that you forget to do the mail-in rebate. Friends, I want you to know that is what negation is trying to do. It's gonna bombard you with situations, with fears, with doubts, with phobias, with lack, with want, with heartbreak. Is going to bombard you with all negation and trick your mind into believing that you cannot redeem ultimate joy. You cannot redeem the life, the love, the peace, the fulfillment that you want in your life. Friends, today, know that negation is going to bombard you with all this negation. You have the strength within you. Get excited for that strength. Get excited for what you are going to do and be in this world. Don't forget to redeem your strength. Don't forget to redeem your fortitude. Don't forget to redeem your resilience in this world. That whatever you face, whatever you are called to do in this world, you are not only excited to win, but you expect to win. You expect to be part of God's best. You are excited for the strength that you are going to pull out of your soul. Would you affirm this last affirmation with me? I am excited to win.
I'm excited to win.
Because I expect to win.
Because I expect to win.
Come on, fist in the air, affirm with me. I am excited to win.
I'm excited to win.
Because I expect to win.
Because I expect to win.
So friends, go out into your world now. Again, whatever's going on, it has something to do with you, but you have to change your thinking. You have to change your imagination to get excited for the strength that it is going to take to get through the most difficult times of your life. And as you do, you know that your imagination will always be ready to receive the goodness of life. And you can continue moving on and enjoying this world in a great and wonderful way. Thank you so much for listening. I love you all. Be blessed. Thank you.